Hey, Pete,
Hi, Bill.
what day
What
is it?
did you see what they just showed you as? They
I'm,
had some
I,
silhouette picture of like a cowboy or something.
oh, yeah, that's actually a picture of a statue that this guy has been doing all over Detroit and Southeast Michigan. It's called Man, Man in the City. And he puts these metal sculptures up on the tops of buildings all over. And I just saw that one that I thought was a pretty neat silhouette, so I sort of adopted that, and I put it up on this one for those times when uh, I haven't actually finalized the login. But anyway, that's what it is. Maybe I ought to take it down since I don't know if other people.
That's kind of cute.
I just, here's a little note. I just got a message from Mike Murphy that he wanted to participate, but he didn't know how to do it from his cell phone. And I've been meaning to learn how to do that myself. I didn't know if you knew how to do that or anybody else knows how to do it, but I tried to do it and I just got bogged down in stuff.
Yeah, I've never tried it, so I don't. You just can't push the hyperlink that you sent us?
Well, when I did that on my cell phone, it said, and I think the problem was that it didn't have Zoom loaded on my cell phone. And then I got into this whole thing about being a host of the meeting or just attending the meeting. So I just kind of gave up on it, but it's been on my to-do list because of my ongoing problems with Comcast just shutting down on me. And so I didn't get around to it today. Today is the 23rd, right? No, it's either the 23rd or the 30th or the 29th, one of those. Oh, Lord. Just when I thought I had it all worked out on Saturday night. The problem was my Comcast came on real late, about midnight on Saturday. So I thought, God, I better get that date change in while I can. And so I was rushing to get that in, and then I messed it up. Oh, Lord.
So you lose your Comcast service periodically or something?
Oh, yeah. It's been an ongoing problem in my neighborhood here for, the past 3 or 4 weeks. What has happened, it started, I think, when we had that massive electrical outage around this area. And with the power outage, down went the Comcast connections. And it took a couple of days for Comcast to come back on. And ever since then, it has been shutting down mysteriously, just periodically. And all my efforts to get it working haven't been very successful. That's why I sent a message out to Frank saying if anything happens and if I suddenly become unresponsive or asking him to kind of take over from that point on. But that made me think that I wanted to well, here's Mike Murphy coming in. He must have got it to work. Okay. I see him connecting. There's Frank Marfia.
Hi, Frank.
Hi, Pete.
And here comes Mike Murphy. There's Mike Murphy. Hi, Mike. It looks like he got it working.
Almost.
Let's hope we don't lose you, Bill, this time.
Yes, well, sometimes I want to be lost. I was just telling Pete that about my woes with Comcast, and I was telling him that Mike Murphy had asked how to run that from a cell phone, and I tried to work it. I couldn't get it to work, so I don't know. It sort of looks like he's logging in from his regular computer, but we see him, and it says Michael Murphy is connecting to audio.
You should pay your Comcast bill every month, Bill, and maybe
Oh,
you'll get
Lord.
service.
It's funny. I finally got through to their technical line yesterday, and I said, I want to know how to get a refund on the number of days and hours that the internet hasn't been working. And I said, if they can't figure out how to, I couldn't get anybody to come out here until Friday afternoon. I mean, that tells you something about Comcast and its abilities. So we've been looking around at switching over to a different provider, maybe AT&T or something like that. That's my woes with Comcast right now. So anyway, I see Terry coming on. Dick Host, yes, we haven't seen Dick in a long time.
Hi, Dick.
How you doing?
Good to see you.
And Mike, are you online now?
Hello.
Okay, you figured it out.
Yeah.
Looks like you had some technical assistance there.
Whose dog? Whose dog?
Yeah, that's my dog.
I'm gonna walk the dog.
Yeah.
Mute the dog.
Hey, it's great to see you guys after all this time.
Yeah,
It's really great.
haven't seen you and Dick Host for a while. So it's
Yeah,
good.
I think I'm not if we've met after St. Joe's before this. I don't remember it.
And here's Ed Swart
Hmm.
coming online. There's Ed Swart.
Hello, hello.
Ed.
Good to see you.
Good to be here. Good to see you guys.
And there's Dick Host in his usual rocking chair. We've missed the rocking chair.
No better place to be.
Let's see. I've heard from Tom Dalton. Let's see who else. There's Bill Gebhard. Oh, Stash said he would be joining in. It looks like Bill is away from his. There he is.
There he is.
In the flesh.
You know, before we really get into the meat of things today, I just want to kind of throw this out. Maybe we can talk about it later on after Frank Marfia has made his little update. I've been thinking about, it's not that I like having these Zoom meetings, but I'm beginning to wonder, and maybe somebody made a suggestion about this after the last one, that maybe we don't need to do it every single month. And so that's something to consider. And I got to thinking too, that maybe it would be a good thing to have a different host for the meetings when we do them, so people wouldn't get tired of seeing me and constantly apologizing for the getting the dates mixed up and for my Comcast from shutting down. It's just something that probably would be worth talking about at some point, maybe tonight or at another meeting. So let's see. We can give it a couple more minutes and then I'll turn it over to Frank. Tom Dalton is connecting to audio. There he is. Hey, Tom.
Yeah, finally.
Mike Murphy, did you get my messages about I couldn't get it to work on my cell phone? I sent you that message and said I'd try it. And then I followed it up with another message that said I can't figure it out on my cell phone.
I don't recall it without looking at my computer here, but feel free to send it again if you'd like.
Oh yeah, it should be in your pile of in stuff somewhere in there.
Okay.
And I
okay,
was
I'll look
saying,
for it. Mhm.
one thing I thought of and is that people who, I think it has to be the program for Zoom needs to be loaded on your cell phone in order for it to work on a cell phone. And
Oh,
I
yeah.
see it's Swart shaking his head down there.
Is there a Zoom app?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
well,
if
I'll look for that too. It sort of became important in the last few outings because my laptop and that has my connection to Comcast just shut down periodically. So gotta have a fallback for these. And here comes Al. He's connected by cell. There he is.
Oh, that's his cell phone?
Yeah, it says Albert's iPhone.
Oh, okay. So he knows how to do it.
Yeah, he knows. As soon as he comes on, we can.
I was just gonna check it on mine too, but I'm quite sure it shouldn't be a problem.
Al, are you able to hear us? I don't think your voice is on.
He's
He's
muted.
muted.
Yeah, he's still muted. I remember when we were first getting started on this, somebody came up with holding up a sign that says, "You're muted." Still don't have your voice, Al. Can you see us okay? Okay. Well, at least you can see us.
Bill, can't you mute and unmute people from?
I don't think I can unmute it from my side if it's been shut off by the on the user. I don't mute anybody. I set it all up so that when people enter, they're automatically on there. Let's see if there's anything I can do.
If you open the participants
Oh,
tab,
it says, here's a little message. It says, ask to unmute, but he knows that we can't.
yeah.
You just got me joining on my iPhone as well, Bill, if you had that question.
Okay.
Huh.
Yeah, I can see. We'll count.
That's muted too.
Yeah, we've got two views of it.
Oh, we got two of that.
One's on my iPhone just to see if it would work.
Maybe you can tell Al how to turn his voice on.
Down at the bottom, there's a bottom left corner.
Any lip readers in the group?
Albert, go to your iPhone and tap the meeting, your picture, and then go to the bottom left corner, and there's a thing that, yeah, you've been there, huh? I tried, it worked on mine.
This has been a wonderful learning curve the past year.
Oh, isn't technology wonderful?
Does he have a 7-year-old grandchild he can call?
Yeah.
All right, I'll tell you what, we've got 10 of us going. Do you want to just get going, Frank, or?
Yeah,
what's your-
we should get going.
Yeah,
Okay. The plan overall is we're going to lead off with Frank with an update on where we stand on the reunion. And then we, like we've done in the past, we'll just throw it open to open discussions. If anybody has something in particular that they wanted to talk about, I guess, why don't we just make a quick run through? Why don't we start like we've done in the past? So I'll call off names and then you just tell us where class and where you are. I think.
don't we know everybody here?
Does everybody know everybody?
Yeah, we do.
Okay.
We
I
can
think
skip
we've all
that. We
been
can
on
skip-
together.
Is there anybody we don't want to know anymore?
No,
Isinghoff.
Oh, Bill doesn't want to know us or doesn't want to be known. All right, Frank, we'll turn it over to you.
okay, just so in case you didn't know, I have a committee of 8, including myself, who are working on the reunion question and all the logistics. And we've made a lot of progress on it, but now this resurgence of COVID has me anyway, and many of my team worried about whether we can pull off this reunion. In fact, at the last call, committee call, there were 4 people on. Bill was on initially, but Bill Yagerlener, but his Comcast connection dropped him. And 3 of the 4 on the call thought we should cancel the reunion. One person argued successfully that we should wait to make that decision for this call. That, in other words, the situation on the ground hopefully would improve, where that the Delta variant of the COVID-19 would not be as serious as it was 2.5 weeks ago. So that's what we did at that last committee. We decided to wait for this call to make a decision whether, 1, we cancel the 9/23 reunion, or 2, we postpone that reunion date and consider a later date. And also, as a side note on that meeting, Garthe reported that he was having trouble getting an alcohol vendor or provider for that meeting at the bishop's, whatever the location we were choosing.
Yeah, Diocesan Center.
Diocesan Center, thank you. They wanted apparently the numbers of the attendees confirmed. I think Pete said 12 days before the event, and a sizable down payment. And of course, somebody brought up the point that not everybody will probably be drinking alcohol if we have this event. So it's kind of unfair to charge everybody a fee, whatever the fee we would be charging everybody, all the attendees, for both food and drink. So that was a problem that came up that Pete reported on. So COVID-19 is surging right now throughout the
That's
Midwest.
Albert. There's Albert.
Yes, can you hear me now?
Yes.
And
Okay,
so my opinion is it's risky for even fully vaccinated people to be in a public setting without wearing a mask. So I have already made the decision that I will not attend this 9/23 event at the current location. It's just too risky for me. I'm fully vaccinated, but I have 3 grandchildren that I see regularly that I'd hate to be get the COVID-19. Granted, it's a milder version, but if I were to get sick, they would be unprotected if I were to see them. So my wife and I, we talked it over. I'm not going to attend. So I'm putting myself right on the spot by saying that I won't be able to attend the 9/23 date that we've planned. I in fact, right now, I've gone back to wearing a mask whenever I go out to any public setting, shopping, in fact, we've even stopped dining out, my wife and I. We mostly order food and pick it up and bring it home. We met with friends, we were gonna dine out together, and we decided it was still too risky, and even in Chicago too, so we ordered pizza and we had it in their living room. So I guess I'm throwing the gauntlet down that I think we're gonna have to either cancel and leave it open, or cancel and postpone with an alternate date in the future. And I'm willing to throw it open out for conversation, discussion. What's the sentiment of everybody?
Cancel.
Yeah, and Pete, you said once before that you did not want to attend if we had to wear masks.
That's correct. Yeah.
Let's be safe.
Pardon,
Yeah,
Mike? Yeah, I'm it's just not worth the risk of getting infected at this point. I guess they say it's a milder version. It's a 3-day illness, but still you're now a carrier of the
Yeah,
the
but
illness.
I think that's only if you're vaccinated. If you're not vaccinated, it's really bad.
Yeah,
Oh,
it's
yeah.
really bad. But even if you're vaccinated and you get this variant,
You're a
aren't you now-
carrier.
Aren't you now a carrier? I mean, you could
Yep.
technically give that COVID to somebody else who is not vaccinated. And I have 3 grandchildren who are not vaccinated. And I
Right.
can't do
I live it's a 3-generation home by our choice. My wife is immune compromised. My daughter's immune compromised, and I've got a 10-year-old grandson that lives with us too. Now, every one of us, except for the grandchild, has been vaccinated, but I do the same. I mask up when I go out again.
Yeah.
So
And it feels bad to say this because in June and July, it seemed like we were getting ahead of this. And I had actually dined out at a restaurant, I think almost half a dozen times. I still would wear a mask when I went into the restaurant, but then of course I'd sitting down at the table, I'd take it off, and there would be other people, hopefully 6 feet away. But if we had dined out with guests, we were not sitting 6 feet apart. But now we're much more cautious. Anybody voting for having this September 23rd date continue?
I like the idea of like postponing it to a date uncertain. I mean, we've done a lot of work. We know
Yeah, we
what's
have.
involved in reviving things. And I think maybe come springtime, we could take it up again and see whether it might work at that time. I'm wearing masks. My wife and I, we gave up on going to a family wedding, and next week was going to be in Muskegon, involved an overnight stay. A lot of young people in the wedding party. We just thought it just wasn't worth. My wife what's the term for autoimmune problem or whatever? She falls into that category too. So we decided not to go ahead with the family thing, and I guess the same goes for, unfortunately, for this. And again, we've learned a lot. I think we know how to kind of revive things if we want to do it at another date yet to be decided. I guess that's my feeling.
Yeah, you're right. We have done a lot of groundwork. We don't necessarily have to do it at that center, that Bishop Center. What's it called?
Diocesan Center.
Diocesan Center. I know that there's some advantages to having it there, but it seems to me there's some disadvantages. The alcohol issue, right, Pete?
Do we need a permit for alcohol if we bring our own as opposed to sell it or
Yes.
something? I don't think.
Yep, can't bring your own,
Can't bring your own.
can't bring your own.
Can't bring your own, okay.
Not at that location.
Okay.
I mean, if we had it, Pete mentioned possibly having it at a parish hall.
Parish or Polish hall that has their own bar there.
Has their own bar, and there could be a cash bar for
Just a
those who want to.
cash bar, yeah.
And then if it were not that far from this diocesan center, people could get in a car and go to the diocesan center to see all those archive information as part of the 3 hours or even longer.
I think looking back at going to a parish hall location, the issue that was at the time that trying to do it during a weekday presented all sorts of problems with
The school.
school being conducted and the parking issue and the availability of the dining room and things like that. So I suppose it's possible that if we had and I don't know, I guess it would be up to each parish and to find out whether or not their facility might be open on a Saturday. Don't know, just something to think about.
You know, what's the difference between a parish hall and the diocesan center? You're still inside.
Yeah.
Right. I was thinking more in terms of the alcohol problem, the alcohol license issue. Like, where was that last time? St. Peter and Paul's? I think they might have had their own license there, or whoever the caterer was, it wasn't a problem. So my thought was that maybe it might not be a problem if we can get around the alcohol license issue. I don't know, but we've learned a lot, and so now we know what to expect, what kinds of questions to ask.
Hi, Paul. I don't know if you heard, but we're talking pretty much about at least postponing the September 23rd event. We're going to cancel it. That's the general. I haven't heard anybody say don't cancel. We're going to cancel at least that event and postpone it for an undecided date. That's what's on the table right now.
Okay.
And you sent an email, Paul, that said that you wouldn't attend unless it were, everybody was masking up, I think. Is that correct?
No, I said, I don't remember exactly what I said, but Sue and I do not want to participate in an event such as this where we're pulling so many people from all over that we're not confident in the fully masked
Fully vaccinated.
criteria still preventing a spread of infection, especially since we have a first grader who is in and out of the house, pretty much daily.
Yeah, that
understandable.
sounds pretty much what several others have said too. So
Yeah, it's a shame we did all this work and then now COVID came back with a vengeance.
Well,
It's
it's
We've
not
been
going to go to
doing this
waste.
Stuff for a year and a half, guys. Things happen, we
Yeah,
just
they
gotta wait it out and do our best and maybe keep championing this, get your vaccine.
Yeah.
Well, even if you have the vaccine, it's going to be a challenge.
I think what we need to do is be political about it and say, go get, write the local newspaper. I'll stop. I shouldn't. Write the local newspaper and everybody else and say, hey, get your vaccine, everybody.
Yeah.
The only way to stop this.
It sounds like some employers are going to force the issue on their employees.
Company I work for is going to require it. It really doesn't impact me because I'm working from home and I will be doing that until I retire in a year and a half. But
You guys
Other-
see Dick's message? This
Who's
reminds Dick of a SCAS meeting.
yeah.
Pardon?
Most Sundays, we had meetings, did we, on Sundays, Dick?
Yeah, well, there's gas meetings, remember? Students, Christians, some other.
I don't
Isn't
know.
it Student Catholic
Catholic
Action Society or
Action
something?
Society, yeah.
Yeah,
I don't remember those meetings. Were those in the seminary days, or this is after the seminary?
no, those are the seminary days, and we had them only when the debates were not going on with the upper classes or something like that. Maybe.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I didn't interrupt.
No,
Angel days,
I
yes.
remember the word scas, yeah, but
Sundays at 11 o'clock, 10:30, whatever, after
Oh my
mass, whatever, before lunch.
I'll be
I
darned.
must have been doing something else at that time.
Yeah.
I was studying, yeah.
Right.
Well, should we move on to a new topic?
Yeah, so I guess the consensus is, I haven't heard anybody say that they don't want to, they want to continue that meeting on that event on September 23rd, is to cancel that event and put it on hold, I guess indefinitely, or at least reconsider it at a future call.
I think, yeah, I think Frank, it might be a good idea to let people who aren't on this call know
Oh,
that
yeah.
there's an intent to do it again. I think there are a lot of people that I know who are looking forward to having such an event. And you know, they certainly want to do it, but if it's not reasonable to do it now, we just got to say, we'll put it off till spring and see where we are.
Okay, that's a good point.
Yeah,
that
I'll
sounds
write
good.
I'll send you, Bill Yagerlener, I'll send you a kind of a summary of this
Okay,
discussion.
great. Yeah, and I have my master list of people that have responded to date, and including that would include the few people among the group here who have made changed their minds. But we have like 45, 46 names on that list of people who said they were interested in attending. So we can revive that at any point, I think. And if anybody in the group or among the larger group wants to get a database, I can send that out showing who was interested and who said they weren't interested. So that's where things stand there. Yeah, so
You know,
if
it might not be a bad idea to just send that out to the St. Joe's Memories list.
right,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah,
You mean
hit everybody.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, right. Yeah, that was my plan. I
Okay,
have like 160 names on the general database list of alumni, and they all get the entire mailings every month or whatever. So that's my usual plan of attack in there.
I would like to add one comment before we move on. I know some of you have put a lot of time into this, and I think we all appreciate the time that you've put in, and hope that you can accept this postponement as a good thing. I think it is. I could ramble on, but thank you.
yeah. Well, I think
He's
that
the
one of the things that this last year and a half has taught a lot of us is patience.
Yep.
All right, so let's just move on to just general discussion in here. I want to share with you a photo that I'm just drawing a blank on Thierry
Stewart.
he sent a picture of a meeting that a visit to Bishop Rose, and so I want to put that on here just so that you can see what he sent me. Can you see it now?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that was from the Thursday, the 26th. And this is what he wrote. I'm sorry to report that his dementia is deepening week by week. He lives in an increasingly imaginary world and refers to the students regularly. His seminary days seem to have made the strongest impression on him, just like it did for so many of us. In my conversation with him, I tried to steer the conversation back to familiar things that happened at St. Joe's, and then he begins to recall events that are real, and he even adds to the stories with his own input. He is always very genial and warm and is still able to call me by name. It is hard for him to formulate sentences coherently. He struggles for words, and without prompting him with familiar experiences from the past, he talks about unreal things he thinks are happening in his life now. But he still smiles and laughs, and the old Father Rose is still there inside him. Please keep him in our prayers.
Nice.
God bless him.
God bless. Yeah.
Yeah, that, and you can see from the pictures over the last couple of months, he is physically, he seems to be much, more frail as the time goes by. And I think he's probably 93 now. Does that sound familiar to like people
Yeah.
down there in the diocese, to Tom Dalton, things, and Dick Host?
That's approximate, I think. I'm not sure exactly, but that seems like that's approximately right.
Does anybody know if Bishop Rose, Father Rose had a lot of musical training? I mean, for him to pull off those 3 Gilbert and Sullivan musicals was just an incredible feat in my mind. Because he pretty much
I will be
played
right
all
back.
music. He pretty much did all the music on the piano, didn't he? For all those.
Oh yeah, right. The Mikado, he was the pianist throughout the entire production, which really kind of astounds me when you look back, and that was like, what, 2, maybe 3 hours worth of piano
Yes.
work. And although Father Tomei had the title of musical director, didn't he? Does somebody recall that?
Yeah, I think so.
I think Father Rose at the time was pretty much, at least in our classes in the 60s, was pretty much the organist. I can't recall that we had other organists in that era. Does anybody recall that? Can't remember anybody else that was playing the organ.
Anybody remember what courses he taught in the seminary? I know he taught chemistry.
French.
Latin. He taught
French.
Latin.
Latin,
French.
first year Latin, yeah.
French.
Latin, French.
French.
French, yeah.
Is there anybody in the group here who took his French class?
I did.
So did I.
Taught us very, very well.
Yes. Now, there were 3 of us in my class who went to Aquinas and took the advanced placement exam after 2 years of his French at St. Joe's, and placed immediately into 3rd year college conversational French. And we were at the top of the class, even there, with people who'd had 4 years of high school French.
I placed out at Grand Valley with taking the French based on that. Seems like maybe I took one class. I don't recall what it was, but
I know that there were a lot of Spanish-speaking priests in the diocese, but I can't, off the top of my head, think of any French-speaking or other language-speaking priests. Does anybody have any memories of that?
Monsignor Martin spoke, I think, 20 languages, didn't he? That's what we always used to joke about.
Father Mike Danner taught French at the seminary in the 70s.
It's kind of interesting to think about the diversity of, I mean, when I look back at some of the bios of current priests, many of them still speak or have a working knowledge of whatever ethnic group that they were involved with. I think there's a couple from the Ukraine community. That sort of sticks in my mind, but that's about it.
Bill, on the topic of frequency, I kind of would vote in favor of not every month, maybe every 3 months, but in between that, I would really like to share ideas with all you guys, and we could do that obviously just by emails. You know, there have been some topics raised and some back and forth in between these meetings and it's kind of interesting to get everybody's opinion on whether they be current political issues or religious issues, you know. To tap you guys for religious issues, I would just love to share ideas, and we could do that between meetings very easily. And then save these kind of Zoom meetings for less often. So that's how I feel.
Actually, I really enjoy the Zoom meetings a lot. I pretty much lost touch with most of you for probably 40 years. And when after I left the seminary, I moved to Chicago, met my wife, married, and all my vacations pretty much were to Wisconsin. My wife's family had a cabin in northern Wisconsin, so we had 4 children, and these were really inexpensive vacations to spend a week at a 1 acre. Well, it was 10 acres. They owned 9 acres forest, 1 acre yard, but it was a big enough house that my wife and kids, we had a great time. So I rarely got back to Michigan, and I really lost touch with all of you. Even Albert and I, we discussed this, Albert Wahmhoff. We met for the first time in 3rd grade, and we were classmates through grammar school, at least 3rd through 8th, and then 4 years of high school and 2 years of college. So it was my own fault that I didn't try to keep in touch with you, but I really have enjoyed the Zoom calls for that reason. I would prefer maybe every other month, but I'm okay with every 3rd month. And I agree with you, Pete. Having those political discussions is sometimes a lot of fun. I enjoyed your question a lot that you tried to get the Bishop of Grand Rapids to answer about his vote on. Did we ever get an answer? Did you ever get a response from the person from the bishop's PR person?
Well, she just said she would pass it on to the bishop, I think, but I never really expected him. He doesn't seem to be the type to want to create any disagreements or create any waves or anything, so.
You know, Pete, I was tempted to send a photograph to Bill, and it's of the Bishop of Lansing. His name is Earl Boyer. And the reason I was going to do that is I was trying to see if you had a twin personality, because you're right in that photo there, you and he look almost exactly the same. So my suggestion would be that if you were to do that with a photo and ask the question, maybe the Bishop of Grand Rapids would answer.
You would think I'm the Bishop of Lansing.
Well, he might, you never know.
I guess that issue has kind of disappeared, and I don't hear it brought up much anymore, but.
No.
Well, I think that they're supposed to have a, what do you call it? A
follow-up meeting?
The group is some bishop or something is writing, or commission is writing a position on the communion thing. And it's supposed to come out whenever they meet. I don't know. I suspect it's going to be like in November. At least in our parish, and I think in Lansing Diocese, they had, not too long after you had written your question in that, like 3 Sundays in a row, all devoted to Holy Communion and the Eucharist and its meaning and the like. And it kind of coordinated with the Gospels that were being, I'll use the word featured in the rite at that time. And I know our pastor would write a kind of a, like those articles they write in your bulletin. And that's the way it was stressed. This is right after the whole brouhaha about that and Biden and everything else. So that's the best I can answer. Now, the other thing is though, I sent these to in another way, in kind of reinforcing what you're talking about. There is a guy who writes for the New York Times, and his name is Ross Donat, and he comes from kind of a Catholic perspective. I mean, he's a regular op-ed writer, and he's written, he wrote an article that I sent to about 3 weeks ago, I think, that I sent to Norb Bufka. And along with that, the way I caught it, there was a series of letters that came back and reacting to it. It was an entire, it was pretty unique because it was the whole column. They must have had about 8 responses, which is pretty unusual. And I sent that along to Norb too. So I didn't know, because I've been in a couple chats with him on Zoom, and he, I know he hasn't reacted. I didn't get any, I didn't speak with him personally, but just as a, reaction to what you were asking about, I thought maybe Norb would kind of generate discussions that way. I don't think your idea is bad. I just kind of giving a response of what I found and approached in that, and how other people reacted to the kind of to that, and also to kind of the state of Catholicism in general, which is, I think, pretty serious. And I've personally felt a division in the church for a long time, thinking that there's the threat of a schism, and I always wondered what would happen. This is just my reaction to what you're asking, Pete.
Moving back to focus on the communion issue, my understanding is that the Bishops' Conference agreed to hold I'm not sure what the right term is, but so the conference is broken up into areas around the country, and that those individual areas that we're being asked to do some study, some sort of sub-regional meetings to kind of do some synthesis to bring back into the next bishops' meeting. Whether or not that's happening, I don't know.
I got a email from my sister in Traverse City today that there are 4 sisters from the Dominicans of some Nashville order are sending 4 Dominican sisters up to Traverse City, 2 of them to teach in one Catholic elementary school and the other, there's St. Francis and Immaculate Conception up there. 2 are going to teach in each of the schools, and they showed photos of them. the habits are exactly the same as they were in 1960. So the full white habits with everything. So I don't know if these nuns are, I think they're on a mission up to Traverse City, but it just kind of, again, shows that there is a part of our church that wants to go back, to the good old days of the 50s and stuff like that. And they're going to have these nuns just like they were when we were going through Catholic schools. So
I don't know how many of you guys saw the nice piece about the IHMs. It was in the Free Press here in Sunday's edition. It was a really very interesting piece. I can copy the text out and send it on to folks because it's one of those things that you have to be a subscriber in order to read the whole thing. But their history was really very, very interesting. I don't know, did any of you happen to see that over the last? Pardon?
I think I did it. I don't get the Sunday Free Press. I get it every week, but I read something about that. And I'm trying to remember how they ended up in Detroit or where they were and stuff like that. Some priest brought them over because there's a lot of stories about nuns being invited, like in the 19th century or so, to come to the United States to work, either to set up like a hospital, or a lot of them to do schools and things like that. I do remember in the seminary, when they used to read during the dinner time, they had the story of Mother Cabrini, and it was telling of her time of coming from Italy and going to Chicago and establishing her group. So the other thing too, Pete, in kind of adding on to you, here in Ann Arbor, Domino's Farms, I don't know if any of you have seen it, it's huge. And that's Tom Monahan, who started Domino's Pizza. And they have the high school, Gebhard Richard High School, is on the property. I mean, this is a big place. I mean, they got roaming buffaloes, and I kid you not, on the land.
Mm-hmm.
And they have Christ the King Church, which is more focused on, which is, I would say, the more traditional. The high school is not, it's on the land, but it's not affiliated with the church. There is I think there is a grade school too. And there are Dominican sisters. They sometimes come to St. Francis, the parish I belong to. And some of them will be wearing the habits, just like you described. And when I was in grade school at St. Thomas in Grand Rapids, that had that. But I think they teach with their, they have their habits. They teach with their habits, and they sometimes come to mass in St. Francis with their habits. Some have, like the skirt and the blouse, and then they have a veil with a white thing around it, but not the full scapula and everything else that I think you're describing.
I read that Free
What's
Press.
going to happen to the church?
Sorry?
I'd like to give a prediction of what I think is going to happen to the church.
That's
I
a
think
good
the church
question.
is like the Titanic. It's going down. The structure is going down. It doesn't work anymore. And there are lifeboats. People are choosing which lifeboat they want to get into. And maybe one lifeboat will be the home church, where they share scripture and share the Eucharist and meet one another's homes. Another will be the very church of the 50s, very controlled, very law abiding. I think the largest lifeboat is going to be the churches where I don't give a shit. It makes no difference in my life. But I believe that's what's going to happen. And I see it happening already. As I travel around and fill in, the numbers aren't anywhere near what they were before the pandemic. They're 150 is a lot of people at mass right now. So that's my prediction for what it's worth. I'm happy to see the structure collapse. I think the structure is doing more harm to Scripture and the Word of God than what good it's bringing about.
Well, I don't challenge what you're saying. I saw it. I see it coming to a little bit different way. I don't say you're wrong at all, but I see it people going to churches based on what position the pastor favors. In that, if you're identified as a traditional church, then you go to that one, and if it's a different focus, then you go that way.
But there's only the traditional guys coming up.
Say again?
It's only the traditionalists that are being ordained right now.
Yeah. Well, I don't disagree with you there. I agree. You could tell by their sermons and the like of how they how they deliver them. And the other thing, I'm surprised at the younger ones, and I see it as a privilege of how we were. All of us were at least educated through St. Joe's, how complete it was, even in the grade schools that we went to. I think their kind of lack of knowledge of the church in general and kind of the history of religion, in my opinion, is not as deep as I think that we were privileged to get.
I think we were the most privileged in a long, long time when you think about the fact that we were there during Vatican II. And we came into a very traditional St. Joe's. And as you recall, the kinds of things that we went through the senior year for a lot of you, up until mine, which was 2 years later, the changes at that point in time were just absolutely incredible. Not just with what was going on with us, but with what was going on worldwide because of Vatican II. And we got that early exposure to the old church, and we were on the cutting edge of the new church. I think what's happened is since then, apparently we've gone back too far again. And again, many of those younger priests that are just coming out aren't aware of that history. They don't have that, but we had that privileged experience.
I agree.
Very many.
Yes.
I have a question for all of you. Are any of you in a shared parish where there's one priest for two parishes or one priest for three?
It's a good one.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, there's a lot of those down in the Detroit area.
Okay, there are. Okay.
Southwest Michigan too. Southwest Michigan.
Here in northern Wisconsin, I used to go fairly regularly. I'm not an every Sunday Catholic anymore. But anyway, there's 5 parishes for one priest up here. There used to be 4. It's getting worse. They're just not ordaining many young men anymore. And the bad news up here was we had each parish has I'm thinking where the priest doesn't reside, the diocese would pay for a person, usually a woman, to administer the details, to visit the sick, to run any CCD, to have a choir at the church service. And for a while there, they allowed that, usually a woman, to preach. And at some point, it completely stopped. It's like the bishop up here is from the Wisconsin city across from Duluth, Superior, Wisconsin. He put a stop to any women preaching. He didn't come out with a fiat or anything, but you could tell that she got demoted. The woman who was in charge of the little church here in the small town in Wisconsin no longer could preach. She still had the other responsibilities, but preaching was taken away from her. She was a dynamic. Her sermons were the best I've heard in the last 10 years. I probably heard 8 of them over the last 4 years.
And why do we put
Um,
up with that?
I don't know. I mean, the bishop's in charge. He made the call. He
Now, the
gave
bishop
that power.
can't tell you where to go to church. Form your own church.
Well, that's the alternative, yes.
Church.
I'm basically doing, Dick, what you thought a lot of Catholics are doing. I'm not attending church anymore, at least up here.
You know,
Very
this
different.
discussion reinforces I will make copies of that article in the Free Press about the IHMs because they were throughout their history, they were real game changers. Some of their early activities were just incredibly revolutionary. And they have sort of continued with that tradition today. Oh, new. But the interesting thing about the article is it explains a lot of the other activities that they took part in or established, like the role of women getting an education. And they set up in Detroit, Mary Grove College with the Immaculata High School on the same campus. So I remember both institutions since I lived down the street from them. But it was, you know, I'll send the article on for your thought. It was I was particularly interested because way back when I was looking at the history of the seminary, up until all that Norb's book said was until the 1930s, what he described as the Sisters of Mercy were the sisters who provided food and health services in the seminary. And then there was a switch over in the 40s when the sisters that we thought of as the Dominican sisters, I guess they were the Adrian Dominican sisters. Is that?
Grand Rapids.
Yeah, there is one in Adrian. Yes, there's Adrian. There's a group in Adrian.
But these were
But,
Grand Rapids Dominicans, weren't they?
Yeah, the Grand Rapids
Marywood,
Dominicans.
yeah.
They were actually a separately founded group from the Adrian Dominicans.
Oh, okay.
Correct. That's correct.
Okay.
So their history and the question that sort of came to mind in our discussion the last few minutes was who chose the Sisters of Mercy to come in, and what was involved with the Dominicans taking over from them? Was it up to the bishop, or did
Yes.
that first order just disappear? Curious about that whole thing.
The bishop has control of them. You have to be in, I read different stories. The bishop invites the order and invites them into the diocese, and then has to give them permission. They were kind of, you go back way back in history, like in the, like the 1200s and all that, or even before that, but the dioceses were established, and they were more like governorships in a certain sense. It also gets tied up into way back to Constantine, and how they.
It's 8 o'clock.
How they the church and the Holy Roman Empire evolved in the governance of the governance of a country and the religion, and how they got along. If you recall the famous scene, I think it's even a painting of Napoleon taking the crown from the Pope and putting it on his head. That was a significant moment in history, even in church history. There's the significance of that.
I got to share with you an interesting little incident that happened at our parish school, which in Muskegon, for some reason, the Adrian Dominicans got a foothold, and it seemed to me like they ran all of the schools in Muskegon. But at any rate, we were just, I would have been probably about the 8th grade. And at that point, we were just sort of becoming aware of sort of the hierarchical structure of the different religious sisters. And so one day, the sister who was described as the Mother Superior, and we'd never heard of that term before, made the rounds of our school and was being introduced in all of the classrooms. And so she came into the 8th grade, and the first thing that struck people was, well, her habit was different than that of Sister Alfreda. And it was different in the sense that the little white band at the top and the robe or the cassock or whatever they call those was sort of a yellowish tinge to it. And so here's me, ever inquisitive and mouth running out ahead of my brain. After all, she said, "What? Any questions?" And so I said, "Well, does that color difference in your habits mean, is that because you're the Mother Superior?" And they all broke down laughing at what a dumb question that was. Well, it turns out, she said, no, they were just testing out different fabrics. That was about the time that all these different other synthetic fibers were coming on the market, and so they were just testing out this one for use among the whole order. And so, oh, what a dumb guy to ask a question about. But it sort of was in tune with our general gist of, well, there's Monsignors around who, because of their rank, have a little red, or never seen the purple until we were in the seminary. And I still don't, to this day, understand the difference between Monsignor Martin and Marty and Shaw, why they had different titles or ranks, who was any more superior than the others. But anyway, that was my sort of random.
Well, Bill, if you want to research that further, and Google can find all kinds of stuff for you. But there were different categories of Monsignors.
Yep.
And there still may be, I don't know. And
very
that's the
reverend
reason.
and right reverend. Mm-hmm.
Well, so titles, there were
Right,
variances in them.
Domestic.
Kind of like an archbishop and a bishop. But Paul's right. There were different, and their differences were connoted by the colors they were. Some were red, piping, and the others had purple.
Yep.
But you're right
Very
about
reverend
that.
and
Say what? Say what?
very reverend and right reverend.
Right. Yeah. But there was a pecking order in the even in that group. It's like being a bear or a lion in Cub Scouts, I guess. I don't know, but
It was quite political also.
That's correct. Yeah.
No.
Kind of like
Before we lose track of more people in here, let me just say, it looks like maybe we should just go to every second month, just to have a general.
Just to start.
Yeah,
Bill.
Just to start.
I
I'm good with that.
Yeah, I
Okay.
can live with that, Bill. I think that's a good idea.
Right. Now, one other thing, and I'm in the last issue of the update that I sent out, there was a little piece about the statue of Saint Joseph. And I was commenting, and it was a question that came, I was trying to figure out, all the time that we were there, I don't know that I ever saw that statue. It was like on the 4th floor level from the front, and talk about out of sight, out of mind. But and it has been relocated. It was taken out of the seminary in 2008 and was moved over to St. Joseph the Worker Parish. And then I got to wondering, apparently Father Joe Zaskowski's maintenance crew was responsible for cleaning up around that area. And there was a question that came up between me and Tom was, how in the heck did they get there and where exactly was it? Well, he sent me a photo that he took last year at this time showing the 4th floor, a northern look at what the 4th floor is at that time. And you could see like a big, large window in area where the statue was. My question in the discussion was, well, it seems like some of those drawings that you could see 2 other little places where other statues were, but I couldn't remember any other statues being in there. Well, he suggested that, and he said was Father Joe's cleaning crew had to go in there and clean out the bird droppings and the bird nests from that area. And he showed me in the drawing where it was. It was behind the lavatory on the 4th floor dorms. I don't know if you, I can't even remember the layout of that, but the lavatories, or the lavatory was on the north side of the wing. And he showed me like the door. There was a doorway that led into what looked like another passageway to get to the larger statue area with a couple of little slits in it that apparently guys would have to crawl through that to get out there and kind of clean out the statue area. But I didn't know, the year, that was the 2nd year dormitory, remember? I don't know, probably
Yeah,
everybody.
That's correct.
Right. And it never occurred to me, you could see where the doorway was, but I don't ever recall until I saw the picture that he took that, oh yeah, I kind of vaguely remember that, but it was like, don't ask, don't tell.
Oh, Bill,
It
you
led
need-
somewhere.
Bill, you need to get in touch with Gebhard about that. He probably can straighten you out.
Oh yeah, that's right. Right. He was the explorer. Tom Cabildus would have been the one who had access to everything. He probably would have the memories of exactly what that whole thing was.
Missed out there.
I have a discovery. Can I go back a little bit and share something with Frank? Bill and I have spoken about this. I don't know if you recall, Frank, it leads up to where I'm coming. St. Joe's has a motto, by the way, I found out.
Oh, I saw that.
Frank, what I'm supportive of the things when we came in and you were discussing about delaying the meeting or the get together in September.
Right.
But one of the things that I don't know if you recall that you had mentioned is the fact that or I had volunteered to maybe try to get a poster, and I've spoken with Bill about this, and I've given some idea. I've gotten a picture. I've created a picture or reproduced it of the original seminary building, and I found out that it's a National Historical site, which surprised me. I didn't know. And I was writing a history, and I can't remember who sent it, but I didn't even know because someone had asked, well, what's the motto of the seminary? Well, it's Veni Saecor Me, come follow me. And it's on the way I saw it, those pennants they have for schools and that.
Yeah, right.
I found out that we had a mascot name. We're the Rogues. Did you know that?
No.
Yes.
Really? When was that done, Thierry?
Well, it was done before I got there in 1970.
Okay, I never
So-
even knew. I mean, they even had a color. I think they were
Blue and gold.
blue and gold. Yeah, that's
Yep.
right.
Yeah, I think that was right at the time, 1970 was at the time that a new rector had taken over, and that's when they changed the name of the seminary to St. Joseph's Preparatory Seminary.
Ah, okay.
And
There's a
at that,
recruitment,
right, and as part of the whole process, the thinking was the role of the seminary was to prepare young men for different roles in the church, and it wasn't necessarily to be a priest, that there were other activities that that could be, people could play. And part of that whole system was kind of, well, at that point the enrollment in the seminary was dropping pretty radically by 1970, I think. 70, 71, they might have been around the time that Christopher House was launched, and part of that was to have sort of regular high school things like a yearbook, and they had this basketball team, and that's where that pennant came from, and the name the Rogues apparently is when that came about. And I have the name of the guy that sent me all that stuff. And he was going to send like this banner showing the Rogues. I couldn't tell from the picture that he sent me whether it was a giant elephant, but that slogan is on that little pennant that he sent me. I thought that was the first time in all of the things, all the pictures that I've seen of the seminary, that there was any photo or anything showing anything that related to a motto. I can't remember at the time that we were around there that anything showed up.
I think you're too old for that. That was after our time.
Well, I might be able to give a little bit more timing on that, because I know we had a fight song, and it was
Really?
supposedly written by Phil Shangraw.
Oh, jeez.
what was the fight song? Tantum Ergo?
No, actually, it was difficult to sing, but it was a sports fight song.
Well, they had that one where, how the chapels were like in an L.
Uh-huh.
And then they used to have 6 weeks before summer vacation, they had the 6 Sunday evening sermons. And they were to St. Anthony.
St. Aloysius.
Say again?
St. Aloysius.
Oh, that's right, St. Aloysius.
Right.
And he never looked at his mother, but they were singing, they would have this song, special song, and it was to some kind of tune that the same tune as Captain Midnight. So they used to have each side was singing different, they were trying to sing the same song with different words. I don't know. It was really bizarre once that happened.
I think in those days he was known as Monsignor Midnight.
Well, I remember we had a sermon once about sex, and the word was never mentioned in a half-hour sermon. I thought all I knew is I had a power. That was the only thing I remember.
I remember that.
The most incredible sermon ever.
Our
Father Guzikowski.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
So Bill, we've agreed we're going to have our next call probably in 2 months.
Yeah.
Yep.
Normally
And-
we used to do these calls in the first week of the month.
The first Monday, yeah. Is there anybody, I'm open for anything. My schedule is pretty flexible. My mind is very flexible too. I keep changing dates around all the time. And that's because I
Your
look
ca-
over
your
at this
calendar is
calendar up there
flexible.
and I realize, oh, I had the wrong month. I never changed the month of the calendar.
Part of
So I-
part of our age is showing.
Oh, yeah, geez.
So sometime in
Uh,
October, some date in October?
Some date in October.
Okay.
Is the first of the month something that we can remember?
Yeah,
Well,
that's good.
If I may speak off topic, my pool is 85 degrees and welcoming.
Oh, wow.
Hint, hint.
That warm, huh?
Yeah, the
Okay,
the
we'll
fur-
meet in October at Al's place. Let's see.
the furnace
But it's
the
still
furnace
gonna
is
be
set at
85 degrees.
77 and it's 85 due to solar.
Yeah, all the heat. Okay, solar.
Well, 2 months takes us to the beginning of November or the end of October.
Yeah.
November 1st, the first Monday is November 1st, which is, guys, what's
Holy
November
All Saints
1st?
Day.
Holy day of obligation. No.
Yeah.
Next day.
Day
All Saints
after
Day.
Day
Halloween.
after Halloween.
Yep.
Yeah,
It's-
that
All
too.
Saints Eve.
Yeah, it's our Saints Day.
Yep. Everybody's.
For all the saints.
From their labors.
Saints go marching in down Louisiana too.
That's right.
So-
Not today.
Right.
So
Yeah.
maybe,
They marched north.
I guess so.
maybe the last Monday in October would be the time to do it.
Yeah. And then we could do one in December, maybe mid-December, the following. We could
That's not a
decide
bad,
that.
Frank, I don't think that's a bad idea.
Yeah.
What you just suggested and what Paul said too.
Mhm.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be
Late-
exactly 2 months apart, Bill.
Late October, mid-December. Yep.
Mid-December
Okay.
would be the
Yeah,
next-
and then February, then start of February.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like that.
Why
Skip
don't you
the
put out
snowball.
a tentative, a schedule like that with the dates on them? I think it would be helpful for,
Yeah,
Getting people to put it down on their calendar is possible.
yeah, I agree,
Yeah.
Frank.
Yeah.
Well, my problem's not so much getting it on my calendar, it's having my phone remind me about it.
What about Alexa?
Alexa.
She'll do it.
Saint Alexa.
Okay, well, Saint
Right.
Alexa.
So Bill, I'll send you a summary, at least of the part of this call having to do with the postponement of the reunion event.
Right.
Okay, you can add other stuff to it if you want when you send out
Right.
an email.
If you get a chance, go on to the website. Those photos that I told you about showing the 4th floor lavatory where the
Trap door.
mysterious entrances are, that's up there now. And
The House of
Hopefully-
the Seven Gables or something.
right, exactly.
So was that statue sitting outside, but
Yeah.
protected by an overhang or an eave or something, or roof?
Yes, I don't know if the architectural term, I refer to it as a cove or something like
Alcove,
that.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It was outdoors. When you stop and think about it, here it is 100 years later, and that statue still exists. Looks like this, hasn't weathered or anything, and it's still there right on the corner of the Church of St. Joseph the Worker. And it's like, oh my gosh, all those years, and I don't ever recall seeing it.
This is a little bit of a parking lot, but my son was in Italy or Rome. He was actually attending like a special school at for Michigan State, and he was touring the Vatican. And you know how they show where the Pope is when he's in the balcony and he's
Mhm.
blessing the people. Well, I didn't realize you could go up further than that. There's a way you can get to the top or so. And he took a photo of that and down onto St. Peter's, which really surprised me. And it was kind of interesting to see that perspective, because generally if they do show, you know, from the Pope's perspective, that's interesting, but this was even higher. So it was,
So we probably don't have a photo of that view from where that statue sat, right, Bill?
I don't think so.
Right, no.
But
And as I mentioned, St. Joseph was like the patron of the seminary, and that his statuary.
was never shown in any icon or anything.
Right, I was
So-
even trying to think in terms of the chapel.
No, they didn't have any. Did they have any statues in there? What did they do at the stations? What were the stations like?
Stations
along
were,
the wall.
They were on the walls.
yeah,
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 Were
they were a lot.
Were they made of stone or?
In between the windows, I think. Weren't
hey,
they?
here's something else that came
Who
up.
knows?
Somebody mentioned it after I posted something. A lot of somethings in there. He remarked, and maybe it was Dave Hooper or one of these guys that went back into the 50s before the chapel edition was put on.
Right.
Those of us who were in the 60s remember all the small altars where the priests
Right.
would
Yeah.
say mass every day. And whoever it was that made the comment, and maybe it was Dave, I can't recall. They said that before the chapel, the expansion of the chapel, priests said mass in various locations throughout the main building. And
Makes sense.
I thought about that.
yeah, and I can't even think of where that might have taken place with, 10, 12 priests offering up masses in secluded spots around the building. Does anybody have any input into that, or?
Well, they had didn't they have a chapel in the convent?
Didn't the sisters have a
Oh, yeah, convent
chapel
did.
or something?
Oh, yeah.
Remember
We
that?
served over there. We
Yeah.
served over
Yeah.
there.
Yeah,
Wasn't
there
a
was a
chapel in St. Henry's?
there was a chapel in St. Henry's on the second floor.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
What do you think that what Bill's asking, there were some rooms that were set aside like that for like little chapels somewhere that were eventually converted to something else?
Yeah.
My question is, in the original building, how big was the infirmary? None of us probably know,
No.
but I wonder if there was, well, maybe that's where the convent was too. But
right,
what did they
right.
do with people who are sick? I don't know.
John Mullally sent along to me a map that was put out at the time of I think at the closing ceremonies in 2008. That was sort of a self-walking tour around the main building there, and you can see on that map a section that's marked off as convent. And I think I'll dig that map out, and you could see it's like a little tiny thing that said infirmary, and it's in the area that the infirmary that we remember, that general area was used as the convent.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would make sense.
Yes, it would.
And
Yeah.
also, well, where was the original refectory? Wasn't the refectory either remodeled, made it bigger because they made room for?
You mentioned food, and somebody starts barking.
That's my
The-
dog, I'm sorry.
I think the
I think the
refectory,
Go ahead, Al.
I think the refectory used to be right off of our game room there, just the opposite of the new refectory, the other side of the kitchen.
Right,
It could
exactly.
be, yeah, because the kitchen was decently large. I mean, you had to
Yeah.
wash dishes and stuff, the machine.
And we used to serve the priests on those special occasions in what used to be the old refectory. Do you remember
Yeah,
that?
that could
guys?
be, they'd have their own dining hall.
Yes.
But then
Yeah.
they changed it so everybody ate together. I mean, the priest and the
Right.
students.
I can remember spilling coffee in that refectory too.
I don't know if you guys remember the recorder room, the room where the recorder was produced. It was right adjacent to the den or whatever we called that thing. And then
Oh, yeah.
just on the other side of those walls it was at that time in the 60s was being used primarily for storage of miscellaneous kitchen related stuff, tables and chairs and things like that. But that's where the dining room was. Yeah. And I still remember if you looked real closely on the floor of the recreation room, that's where the bowling alley was.
Yeah, that's another thing. I thought there was a bowling alley there.
Right. It took me a long time to figure out where the bowling alley was. And yet that would take up a heck of a lot of space.
Now, where would that have been? Would that have been the bottom floor on the west end?
North side.
North end.
Right in the area where the
SAS meetings or the SCAS meetings. Yeah.
Where the tunnel was.
Yes.
When you came up the steps right there, you could see on the floor the pattern for the bowling lanes.
Oh, okay.
Oh, the infamous tunnel. I forgot about that.
I can remember bumping my head on that sucker going down the stairs. Those bricks aren't very forgiving.
Right.
Made something well.
They tried to wake me up.
But when you stop and think about it, bowling was its popularity as a high school sport. It looks like it was past its prime by the late 50s. Who played bowling?
When I was in the seminary over at St. John's there in the late 60s, they still had set them up yourself alleys there.
So, all right. Well, listen, this was, again, lots of fun talking about the good old days and what's been going on and what our plans for the future are. So I'll put together a little thing and we'll plan on the last Monday in October and sometime in mid-December.
Right.
Does that sound agreeable?
Yeah.
And Frank, you're going to give me a little write-up on.
I'll send it to you tomorrow.
Right.
So Frank, since you can have, you don't need a liquor license for Zoom, right? So on, that early Christmas one, why can't we all toast everybody with eggnog?
We certainly can.
Can we do
Bring
that?
your own. Bring your own.
Bring your own.
But I mean, you have to have it with eggnog, don't you?
Pardon?
You have to have the toast with eggnog in it. That's all. Or boss link here. Or the other one is maybe you have cider that's kind of hard in Halloween.
There's plenty of that. There's plenty of hard cider in Western Michigan.
You find a lot of that.
Good suggestion, Dick.
Hey Frank,
I'm going to sign it off, Bill. I'll get you tomorrow. Okay.
Hey Frank, email me.
I will
when you can. Okay, thanks.
I will. We're still going to get together sometime in September. Yeah. That's our goal.
All right, good.
Okay, good talking to you guys.
Yeah,
we'll get together. Good night, everyone.
I'm glad I figured out about Zoom.
So long.
Nice talking.
Bye.
Bye.
God bless.
Good heavens.